Welcome to Mission Spooky bonus episode. Oh shit. I'm here with Kiki. Let's get into this. Why are we recording today, Kiki?
Dude, I thought it was exciting. I know a lot of people, especially on Twitter, where I was hanging out a lot today, didn't see any merit in anything that was said during this. The House panel opened public hearings on unexplained aerial sightings, otherwise known as UFOs. Or I suppose we're going to be calling them UAPs from now on. So yes, earlier today, this morning, an intelligence subcommittee heard testimony from Ronald Moultrie, who is the Defense Undersecretary for Intelligence and Security, and Scott Bray, the Deputy Director of Naval Intelligence. So, I'm gonna just jump in here and give you guys the rundown on what is going on with this, and then there's definitely some things I think JC you're gonna find very intriguing and interesting once we get past the little introduction here to what was going on.
You told me about this. You told me we were recording this, and I was like, you know what? Now I can't watch it. It was definitely on my docket of to-do list to watch this thing on C-SPAN, I guess. And I chose not to out of respect for being the everyman and trying to like be in that role. So I'm going to have lots of questions is what I'm trying to get to.
Well, hopefully I'll be able to answer some of them like right off the bat here. So Moultrie pointed out right away that the new fiscal budget awarded to the NDAA, which is the National Defense Authorization Act, helped to establish dedicated offices for the UAP Navy Task Force. That is the Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force. So, UAP Task Force is what we're going to be calling it from now on. And the reason they dedicated offices to this is because they're going to be doing a collection and scientific investigation of data. I noticed that he emphasized scientific when he was speaking about this. I like that point. Moultrie is also a giant nerd and goes to science fiction conventions, but he claims that he doesn't get dressed up. I don't know about that though.
I'd like to think he wears sweatpants because that's not getting dressed up. Like he doesn't even wear fancy things, just sweatpants, sweatshirt, just like I'm here to relax.
I kind of meant like cosplaying.
Oh, well, who knows?
The jury's out though. I think that Moultrie does. And someone else, I believe it was Crawford, who was talking to him and said that he thought he dressed up. I'd have to go back and relook at that. But anyway.
Wait, did they talk about that on C-SPAN or was this like a
Uh,
different interview?
100% did.
Wow, that is
You
I
can
go
go back
to
and watch it.
like science fiction conventions, but I don't dress up during them. This is a government like thing. Like there's a government person that wrote this that I
Hey,
love this world. The
well,
nerds are taking it the fuck over. Beware, jocks. We're coming for you.
we've already been coming for you. Your time
Yeah,
is way past over.
that's fair. Fair.
Yeah, no, Moultrie is really, really cool guy, and I like the fact that he is very much a science fiction nerd, and he's 66 years old. He's been around, he's been through a lot of the things we're going to talk about, actually, and I'll get to those in a moment. But anyway, yeah, he emphasized the scientific point of view when we're talking about doing future investigations when it comes to UAP. So a lot of those investigations may lead to debunking objects that are seen. We'll talk about that too in a sec. A lot of the data collection that we're going to be talking about it's really for the intelligence community of the United States military, but
Mhm.
they are 100% committed to if this is something that we cannot explain, then that's what it's going to be labeled. For once, the military is not, and this is according to Moultrie, will not seek to keep information from the public, 100% transparency, unless it has something to do with classified information or classified new technology from us or possibly even our quote adversaries.
So, yeah, no, I love that, except for like, that's like some guy being like, yeah, I'm definitely not gonna like, I don't know, lie to you. I'm a totally honest guy. Just forget about the hundreds of times I've lied to you before now. Today, new leaf, won't lie. Going forward, guaranteed. Trust me 1,000%.
Hey,
Meaning I still have very little trust.
I'm gonna remain hopeful when it comes to these 2 guys because they were pretty straightforward, and you know what's really funny? It kind of reminded me of, like, Moultrie is borderline, I want to believe. He's definitely Mulder in the situation, and then,
Mhm.
Bray presented himself as definitely the Scully.
Is there is there a sexual tension between the
No,
2? Damn it.
no.
It would make a good TV show.
Right? Well, still, Bray also had said at one point that if the evidence leads us to saying that we don't know what it is and we need to examine that further, then that's where the evidence takes us. It is what it is. Both of them seem pretty open to everything. Now, you'll kind of get the gist of it. This is kind of the opening statements, so to speak. Now, Bray opens up by explaining that we have seen a rise in UAP in military controlled training facilities and airspace since the early 2000s, which is one of the reasons why the UAP task force was, I would say, designed, but maybe the concept was birthed in 2020 and why we're having this intelligence committee hearing. Brian Moultrie went into a lot of detail about how the data is going to be collected for the database and that reporting has now become a mission imperative. There's going to be a standardized report for data collection. That data is going to be added to a database for comparisons between things like location, speed, the shape of the object, etc. They will look at some past observations that are similar to the present ones going on. So the database will include anything that was previously recorded by the military. They're also very conscious of what we refer to as blue on blue reporting. In other words, chasing our own tail. So that is when someone may report something and then it has to get refuted because it's actually classified. It's like a classified aerial project, for example. The task force is set up with a give and take with other Department of Defense programs, including, God, I hate fucking saying this, Space Force.
I love Space Force. I know I take some heat on this because, it did happen under the Trump era. We had to militarize space sooner or later.
Could have called it something else.
No, I like Space Force. I think it's a fantastic name. I think it's
Space
wonderful.
Force.
It sounds baller. If
Ugh.
Space Force was a military when I was a younger lad and maybe possibly looking to join the militaries, I would have looked at Space Force. Because also, like, what the fuck do you do in Space Force?
Well, I was just gonna say it's a lot like the Air Force, as we refer to it in our family.
The thing is, though, like, there's actual air to air combat that the Air Force does.
Well,
Like, they could potentially do anyway. Like, they do real things.
ask the Navy or Marines about the actual air combat.
No, no, like, I get it. My dad's a Marine.
They're gonna be
His
like,
family, he comes from the Navy. Like, people in his family were in the Navy. I get it. But, like, when you look at it rationally, the Air Force does serve a purpose. I don't want enemy planes
"Sure,
flying over me.
sure, yeah, it does."
Space Force, though, I think it's wonderful and beautiful.
The question came up, will they also include evidence from non-military programs? And I'm happy to say that yes, they will. They're going to be working with the FAA and other US government agencies, as well as possibly in the very near future, non-military individual reports. All of this really emphasizing that it is time to take away the stigma from reporting anything like this, whether you're civilian or military personnel.
Mhm.
And as my husband was here listening to this, and he's a big military buff too, and he's like, they're saying this now, but how many lives did they actually destroy because men and women came forward and said, I saw a fucking UFO, you know?
Yeah.
And so much time is spent trying to cover up everything. At the end of this opening, I kind of felt like we may have finally reached the point where it's okay for you to think that you've seen something weird because you probably did. They also got into a little bit about observations of UAP have been made not just by the United States. So they were both asked if our allies were also working with us on this reporting. Both Bray and Moultrie confirmed that US allies are working on their own forms of standardized observation. My takeaway from that was I believe they were probably referring to NATO allies because we share a lot of military information anyway, you know.
Mhm.
China specifically came up as also working on reporting. They also confirmed that the US does share data with some other places, and that data is shared with us. It was implied that those who do not share data with us would be discussed in the closed session. Keep in mind, this was a thing, it comes out about a 2 hour long ish open session for questions. And then afterwards, there was the classified closed session.
Mhm.
Our adversaries may not share information with us, is what I think they were getting at. And the government also wants to be careful with sharing data and cautious of who shares it with us for counterintelligence reasons. That actually came up, right? Like people could be literally giving you the wrong information because they don't want, like dare I say that Russia may not want us to know that they are trying to develop some new aerial program, and they may give us wrong information on purpose to get us off the trail. My personal feeling about that is that Russia's going to be lucky to be able to eat a hamburger in the next 10 years. I doubt very much that they have anything in the works. So I'm not really sure who our adversaries besides China are, but I hate to even say that they're an adversary,
I
like
mean, North Korea is not, like, the best terms with us.
yeah, okay. Again, do you see North Korea being able to produce something like
No, but they're still an adversary, like,
right? Yeah.
if a 5-year-old comes up to me and says, "Hey, I'm gonna fight you," they're not like, "Oh, it's not gonna be a fair fight."
Right. And they did show a couple of examples. One of them was one that they debunked, and I'll talk about that. The first one, though, was a US naval training range where a spherical object that moves so fast that you can't even see it. It kind of moves through the clouds at this incredible speed, and the cloud actually comes up like with it.
Mhm.
They were finally able to pause the video so you could see it was just a round, spherical, metallic looking object. It was insane. It was recorded on multiple instruments, including a visual from a human being in a cockpit. So,
I'm sorry, in a what?
yeah, in a cockpit. I just like to say cockpit, so I'll say it all day long. It was mentioned that so far there was 144 sightings recorded. Now, I'm not sure if that means since 2000 or if they mean like since this got started last year. That really wasn't clear. And that of those 144, 18 of them appeared to be demonstrating advanced technology moving against the wind, for example, with no discernible means of propulsion. And when they were asked about it, I believe it was Bray who said that they they are not aware of any adversary on Earth that has the means to accomplish this.
Mhm.
But they want to be on top of any new advancements in Earth-based tech to avoid what is called technological surprise.
Well, yeah, you always that makes sense. I do like that mindset where it's not just, "Oh, everything's in it." They're being very scientific and obviously taking this issue very seriously because it should be.
Yeah, like either way, we need to know what the hell it is.
Yeah.
So, one thing that they debunked, they had showed a picture of a triangle-shaped object that the photograph was taken through night vision, and so it already had a greenish glow to it.
Mhm.
Basically, it was a drone that had this light source that when the SLR camera was used to take a photograph of it, that light source sort of bounced off of it and made it more difficult to tell that it was a drone. So they actually recreated the experiment, if you will. They created an experiment to show that, yeah, these were definitely these little triangle-shaped drones, and when you put the green light on it and you have all the right atmospheric everything, they could reproduce the photograph exactly, so,
Mm.
yeah, this is important, though, because if that is something that is up in the air and it's flying around what is considered to be military airspace, then we also need to know who the hell is doing that and why.
Yeah,
If there is even a why, they could just be, like, fucking around, you know?
for sure.
And it was talked about how basically everything that they are analyzing right now goes into a bucket just called data, including things that they don't know what it is. Right. Moultrie also pointed out sometimes it's just lack of data, missing pieces. But yeah, it's all there. I can't remember who. Most of this I marked down who said what later on, but it was Bray had been asked about, do we have anything in our possession that is basically is from another planet? And Bray was like, "Yeah, no. No. Right now," he's like, "everything that we've ever found like actually found has pointed to that it came from Earth. So, no, nothing crazy right now.
Well, that was discussed during the 2-hour classified stuff,
Right, right. I want it in there. Exactly. But then again is the quote, "We will go wherever the data takes us." So while he's saying, "No, we don't currently have it."
Shit, he just said that it's Earth-based, not that it's human-based. There's lizard people living in the center of the Earth, and that's who it is.
At this point, I'm going to go down the list of some of the congressmen who asked very specific questions. So, first up would be Mr. Gallagher, a Republican congressman. Kind of an interesting dude. He has military background. And the first question that he asked was, is there anything that was on the books between Project Blue Book and ATIP? Now, for those of you who are really virgins when it comes to UFOs, Project Blue Book was the code name for the systematic study of unidentified flying objects by the United States Air Force from 1952 until 1969. ATIP is the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program that ran through the Defense Intelligence Agency from 2007 to 2012, but that was not made public until 2017. So it's an interesting question to ask Moultrie. He actually took the question. Was there any other projects that were between there? Now he came back and said that there wasn't anything contracted with the government or military during those times. So Moultrie got into that a little bit about using the word specifically contracted because there's many times where he's like, look, people can individually within the government or military decide to look into something on their own. That doesn't mean that it's an official anything, right? And I understand that.
Yeah, I get that.
And then Gallagher brought up the Maelstrom Air Force Base incident. I was actually pretty happy that he brought it up. Little synchronicity, but recently this came up in a TikTok video from a woman that I follow. Someone had asked her about why isn't she concerned about nuclear holocaust, and she made this like flippant remark about like, well, because the UFOs have deactivated all the nuclear missiles, so there's no point in worrying about it.
Well, I mean, like, there's other ways. You don't need the nuke to be in a missile. Like, there's bombs.
Yeah, that's
So, like, the missile can be deactivated, but
no,
like,
no, no.
you could still drop it on somebody.
I just okay, but not what she said was that it was rendered inactive, right? Like it was no longer a nuclear bomb, okay?
Oh, okay. So they
Yeah,
somehow stop
like
the
it became
nuke
inert.
part.
Yeah. So I looked this up and sure enough, like she wasn't lying. The Maelstrom Air Force Base incident. The Air Force Base is located in Montana and is home to the 341st Missile Wing of the Air Force Global Strike Command. I know some of you gaming nerds are going to know Global Strike Command. So anyway, the incident supposedly rendered 10 ICBM nuclear missiles inoperable while a glowing red light appeared over them. Now, Bray commented on that data and said it's not within the holdings of the UAP task force. So there's no official assessments on the Maelstrom incident when it comes to the ICBMs. So Gallagher asks why it hasn't been looked into. And Moultrie says that would need to come from some kind of higher up making a request for them to look into it.
Mm-hmm.
And Gallagher says, well, I might not necessarily be a quote higher authority, but could you guys look into this for us? And Moultrie agreed to do so. We'll see what happens. He then asks if either Bray or Moultrie know about the Admiral Wilson memo, and neither of them has heard about it.
I'm hoping you're about to tell us all about it. Because obviously, I'm once again very well informed. I know all of this stuff, but I will let you tell the people.
Hmm. Yeah.
I'll correct you
Um,
where when needed.
right. Right. I got you.
Yeah.
So they both say that no, neither one of them has heard about this. And at the end, there's only 10 seconds left for Gallagher to speak. So he says with the last 10 seconds, can I add this memo to the record? Can it be entered as a record? It was entered as record. Now, a lot of people have a problem with the Admiral Wilson memo because it's like one of those, is this a conspiracy theory, like a true one, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Is it just a bunch of bullshit? Are we just chasing our tail? What I did like, though, that Gallagher had mentioned about the Malmstrom Air Force Base, is he said, it'd be nice to look into it to see if it's got anything worth exploring or if we would just be wasting our time.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, that's a good way to look at it because, again, it wasn't I guess it wasn't an official report through the military, so therefore it's not part of the UAP task force information. So is it a bunch of bullshit or should we be concerned about this,
Yeah.
I kind of feel the same way about the Admiral Wilson memo. So, the basic gist of that is that these are from 2002, and they possibly suggest that the US government or military has had ongoing research into UFOs, including possible reverse engineering of alien technology going all the way back to Roswell.
Yeah, no, that's where our cell phones come from. For sure. Yeah. I saw it in
Yeah.
Transformers. That they explain it all right there.
Oh, God. I hate you so much.
I know. So many people do. It's amazing.
Uh,
It's what fuels me.
so, Congressman Krishnamurthy, a Democrat, just for the hell of it, I'll throw that out there. He had a couple of interesting questions. One was about near misses with the military aircraft. Were there any arms discharged, for example, against UAPs? The answer is no. But there's been 11 near misses with military aircraft. He then asked what I think is the most important question because this isn't just about necessarily aerial phenomenon, but those of you who probably also follow Last Podcast on the Left, not too long ago, they did a great episode about underwater
Yep.
phenomenon. So Raja asked the question, do we have underwater sensors? And the answer to that was, we'll be talking about that during our closed session.
Oh god. They have underwater. That's basically like, sure, we definitely don't wink.
I was like,
I
good,
need
that's
to
a good
get a
question.
job where I can get clearance just to be in these conversations, like in the room, not necessarily a part of it because I don't have anything, intelligent to say, which might, keep me from being in the room of an intelligence conference. But
Oh my God.
I can have my hopes and dreams, right?
Yeah. Okay, so the next one, JC.
Juicy. I'm excited.
This one's got implications, and of course it comes from I'm sorry, but the guy's a known absolute Trump supporter, Congressman LaHood. A little bit of QAnon bullshit occasionally. His main concern with all of this was whether or not amateurs giving out false information would have any legal consequences.
Well, now that is something I'm very interested in.
My mind went to, yeah, sure, because it does make it a lot harder to get factual based information, right? Because, well, if someone's constantly lying about seeing UFOs and they're reporting it all the time, then he went a little bit further. There was sort of like these people. I don't recall that he said actually YouTube channels, but well, okay. Here's where I picked up on YouTube channels because he said people who are out for personal gain.
Okay.
Now, oddly enough, my mind didn't just go to YouTube channels. My mind went to, oh, you mean like how ghost hunters fake a bunch of bullshit in order to make money? Yeah. Yeah. Part of me would like those people to have their comeuppance because they're ruining actual investigations, right? And they've taught an entire generation of people to use equipment that doesn't necessarily work and instead of teaching them how to make actual observations about things without putting themselves in the middle of it, right? I got my problems. But anyway, the same holds true for UFO investigation, right? Because
Mhm.
a lot of times your heart's racing, you're excited, you want to see something, you think you see it. I mean, you can record it. To me, I feel like every time I've looked for a UFO, I've always felt more like I might actually see one of those than a freaking ghost, right? I don't know. So, but he mentioned something that this false information could be considered a form of counterintelligence.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with like its counterintelligence. I mean, in the fact that it is the opposite of intelligence, which is being stupid. Yes. But like
No, I mean, like, as in someone being a traitor or a spy. That's what counterintelligence means.
that's not that like it should be like the same thing if you call the police about like, do a you're wasting the time of government officials. However you like if they start looking into it and they spend 20,000 government dollars to investigate your claim, whether it be on payroll, tech, however that that gets spent, you've now wasted resources that could have gone to other things. But I think you have to knowingly be deceitful. Like if you think you saw something and you report it and it ends up being nothing, that's fine. That's not. But if you're knowingly deceitful, then yeah, you should kind of be held accountable.
If they're talking about creating a standardized form for citizens
Yeah.
to also report in, okay? I tried to give this example. I'm just going to choose Russia. Let's say that Russia's like testing out this new drone here. They got spies over here, right? No, I'm not saying they do. This is completely hypothetical. So they're testing something out, right?
Yeah.
And they start creating these false reports to go into the UAP in order to cover up the fact that they really are testing out new military drones within our airspace. Okay. Now, if they're doing that on purpose, then sure, that should probably be looked, it would have to be investigated. I think, though, that after a certain point, the investigation would then just go to
CIA.
or, well, it would, yeah, it would go up the chain to actually like doing a different kind of investigation in which you are now looking at the possibility of someone being a spy. Now, it ended with LaHood and Moultrie at least agreeing that that would have to be something that Congress would sit down and decide if there was going to be any consequences to false reporting.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. If another nation is trying to be sneaky, fuck them.
I think that's a very good question to have asked, despite the fact that I don't really like LaHood as a person.
But once again, like, are those people that know that they are, if you know what you're doing is not real, are you going to fill out that form legitimately? Like,
Well,
and I
hold on.
don't mean like you're going to be honest in your filling out of the form. I mean, like, are you actually, like, you're not going to, because then you're going to have questions posed by actual government officials.
And okay, and I'm 100% like yes with you on that one. I guess my other fear though is that this is going to lead to some sort of weird ass battle between the US military that is trying to do like legit research and like fucking dumbass QAnon conspiracy theorists who are just going to pump out a whole bunch of bullshit, and then I'm afraid that it's going to create a this is why we can't have anything nice situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, versus them, like, "Oh, I'm not gonna fill out that UAP form, that's a bunch of bullshit, I'm just gonna talk about it on YouTube because why am I doing a voice, right? I don't know." The next person was Congressman Peter Welch. He was pretty funny. He said that he kind of believed that we've probably been visited by aliens already, but he understands that the whole project is in the interest of national security and that that must be protected.
Yeah.
Moultrie and him sort of talking a little bit about what LaHood had just said prior. Moultrie says that he wants to have a very good working relationship with folks in general that are reporting in good faith. So to me, Moultrie was then signaling that once again, like he understands talking about punishment is probably important,
Mm-hmm.
but we've had such a huge problem with people being afraid to say what they've seen in the past, especially military personnel,
Yeah.
that we don't want to immediately go there. Like, can we not go there yet? Like, we haven't even figured out the form yet for lay people, right
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
now, if you're a naval airman and you see something, then there's a specialist that you go talk to immediately after, and there's all this stuff that you fill out. So at least that's what Bray said. So we haven't gotten to the next step. So anyway, I like I said, I like Moultrie. I like that he's kind of trying to keep this like, hey, we need to get as many people on board as we can because the more people who are willing to come forward is probably the better because we need that data.
Oh, yeah, for
We
sure.
might be missing a lot of stuff, you know?
Oh, and we definitely are with how people are treated um as liars and fakes, and lives are legitimately ruined by this shit, which is very upsetting cuz I feel most of these people probably had a very profound experience, and then whether or not it was like an actual intelligent from alien planet, whatever, I can't say, but they had something, and then happen to them, and then all of a sudden they're losing their jobs.
Yeah.
That kind of fucking blows.
That was definitely in the past. We're going to talk about briefly. This came up when the next person began talking, and that was Crawford, Congressman Crawford. And he asked if Bray could name one example of a non human made object that they have observed so far. Being very scientific about it, he said, I can only talk about incidents that are unresolved. For example, what happened on the Nimitz in 2004 is unresolved. Ah, yes, the good old Nimitz, the Tic Tac video, as it is called, recently declassified. This is during a routine training mission with the aircraft carrier, the USS Nimitz. This is
Hmm.
off the coast of Southern California in November of 2004. Alex Dietrich and her then commanding officer, pilot David Fravor, were asked by another warship to investigate radar contacts in the area moving in a strange way. They first noticed a churning of the ocean surface before seeing what both pilots described as a smooth, white, oblong object resembling a large, quote, tic tac breath mint flying at high speed over the water. This is probably why we also have sensors in the oceans that we're not allowed to talk about yet.
Oh, for sure.
I love that. I mean, that's pretty cool. Bray came right out and said, I can't say that it's non human made, but I can definitely tell you that it's unresolved. We do not know what that is or was. And lastly, kind of a good question from Adam Schiff. He asked if there was radio frequencies that were tied to the 18 unexplained UAP. And as you know, it's a good question. It's kind of like, are all 18 of those unexplained ones, do they all have the same radio frequencies? I had originally wrote down that Bray had said yes. And then, if you can't tell by listening to my voice, I am not feeling well. So then I was like, should I go back and re-listen to that because that's actually kind of important. So guys, go back and listen. This happens towards the end of the session, but they were talking about how is it a jamming frequency or perhaps showing that it's being controlled, like it's an unmanned item that's being controlled from somewhere else.
Or maybe they're just listening to the radio
Yeah, really, yeah,
or blasting their own radio station. I
yeah.
don't know how this shit works.
Thus concluded the whole shebang. So I
Of
guess
the
it,
of the open to the public part.
yes.
Once again, what you said, it was like 2 more hours that they had slotted for the.
Oh, I don't know how much longer was
Okay,
slotted. It could have been the whole rest of the day.
cool.
Um,
Which, once again, I need to get into politics because goddamn, that's the committee I wanna be on.
yeah.
Unfortunately, I've said a lot of things on this podcast that will keep me from getting into politics unless the world gets real cool with a lot of stuff real quick.
Oh, man.
Like, as soon as the person I am running opposed to finds out I am on the Mission Spooky podcast and listens to the first 5 episodes, I'm out of the running. I just have too many strong opinions.
Well, we are definitely known for our strong opinions, apparently, as was brought to our attention not too long ago. Hey, but it's cool, man. It's all good. We are who we are. We can't change that. Yeah, so I kind of I don't know, I felt like walking away from this that maybe people didn't hear the same things that I did, or maybe they just thought it was so much like a bunch of crap again. They weren't listening for the little nuances and the different things that people were saying. Well, I guess we'll find out, but this was the first UFO committee that was heard in the last 50 years. I
Wow.
think that's a big deal for us as a nation. And I like the fact that it was totally confirmed that other nations are having the same issues, which we kind of know if you're paying attention at all to UFOs around the world, that we're sharing that information too, and that we're all thinking the same thing. Like we have to actually investigate this. Canada is probably the one that was most known for them getting up there and basically being like, "Yep, okay, so there's aliens. Moving on."
Shit, I always forget Canada exists.
Oh,
Sorry, love you,
oh,
Brennan.
Canada, our home and native land. I love you, Canada. I don't always like your hockey teams, but I love you. So anyway, any questions, any comments, any feelings on the intelligence subcommittee?
Look, so in my opinion, I don't think there's like a threat of a alien invasion like we see on Hollywood, like Independence Day type deal shit. But I do think that there is something happening that a lot of people are witnessing, and it should be looked into because we don't know if it is or is not a long-term threat to not just America, but the human race. I'm going to sound a little crazy, but there could be a race of creatures studying us to figure out how to wipe us out.
I think we're doing a good job of wiping ourselves out.
Well, for all we know, they're like manipulating us into doing. Like, I'm not saying that I believe this stuff, but I am saying like it is
No, come
an
on, let's go right
interesting.
down the rabbit hole that
We'll go back to the Bigfoots in space. Don't you worry.
there are saviors.
Bigfoots are all pro humanity, you know? That's why they only chuck rocks and logs at us when we're in their woods.
They need us for their new breeding program.
Sign me up. I will mate with all the Bigfoot.
Oh my god.
You
Jeez.
brought it up, Kiki. I had to do it. It's very interesting that the government is starting to look into this and making it public. And they seem to be like okay with just wanting to be scientific about this and that they don't want to do cover-ups. At least that's what it kind of sounds like. In a week from now when they say, "Oh, that's a weather balloon or swamp gas," all faith out the fucking window. But I'm interested to see where this goes. Let's say that.
Oh yeah. All right. Thanks for stopping by our quick little jaunt onto something that happened, today, and we just wanted, well, Tuesday. I'll have this edited to be probably to you guys on Wednesday at some point. So just wanted to talk about it right away because we didn't want to wait a week, to get it out there. There's gonna be a lot of opinions running around, and we wanted you guys to know ours.
Yeah, because ours is really mine is the opinion that matters. Let's face some facts.
Stay spooky and don't die, guys. But if you do, contact us.
Via, if you could, on the back of incredibly classified documents.